EDG. Both of these teams are so proficient at it. Both junglers, of course, very well. And then Scout and Doinb just being absolute monsters when they get this pick.
That's one of the big picks I was keeping my eye out for. Jace, though, this has been so crucial to the top lane, trying to get that away from Flandre and make sure you've got that nice spot for Nuguri in that top side. Also, pairing it with the Varus means you could set up for a nice poke comp, try and play at range if you want to here for FPX.
The thing I'm curious about with the Jace pick, right, is what will Flandre go into it? Because you can always go regular season Flandre route of going with like a tank pick. Set was his most played. Or is he going to be more spicy? Are we going to see something like the Aurelia, which he's played in playoffs? Are we going to maybe see something like the Kennen? But I love that EDG are going straight back to a pick that they've already pulled out in playoffs. We've seen Scout really loves getting his hands on this Lucian and playing such an aggressive mid lane matchup.
It could also potentially be for Flandre.
Yeah,
he was Saint Gun Bro back in the day, back before he moved up to that top side. I love this Lucian pick, so always that option. And one of the big picks we were talking about though was the LeBlanc, which we haven't seen come through for Scout yet. So I think after this pick, if they're not going to go for some sort of AD carry, we'll get a better idea where that's going.
Ooh.
Well, a lot of the flexes answered there with a Twist of Fate locked in for Scout. That's a huge pick for most teams in the world right now, but certainly both of these taking it away from Doinb crucial.
It's just crazy to see that EDG are opting into very clearly playing for topside, right? Lucian coming out, the Twisted Fate. It's going to be all about Flandre versus Nuguri. On the opposite side, though, we do get the Sylas. Sylas, of course, did get some nerfs coming into this patch, but in this matchup, he can still be exceptional.
Yeah, you do have, as you said, the Sylas. My big question is, what happens with jungle? FPX, we've seen Tian hasn't played a huge amount. You're looking at like Diego already banned away, Lee Sin taken off the board, and now if EDG start to go towards those junglers as well, you're very quickly dropping down that pool.
I think luckily for them, right, you still have Xin Zhao, Olaf, and the Volibear available, so all three options, if you want to go for a more early game ganking style, accelerate the pace of the game, there are still opportunities there. I wouldn't be surprised to just see EDG go with the Xin Zhao plus the Olaf ban.
It's kind of interesting when you look at these compositions holistically so far, though. It feels like both comps are quite happy to push the tempo, right? You have tools on either side to be able to be aggressive in that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this is going to come down to, hey, look, especially if you're looking at EDG, how do we enable Scout to get up and get Flandre going against Nuguri in this top lane? He has that good matchup, but I want to see a bit more pressure. And this is something that EDG have done more in playoffs, is playing through that top side, giving Flandre a ton of resources, and this feels like a similar draft here.
Yeah, and I'm really curious to see, actually, speaking on EDG, where they do go with their bottom lane pick, right? You would expect maybe something along the lines of an Ezreal to come out, something that can just play safe on its own. The hard thing is, EDG have very clearly opted into playing like this 1-3-1 sort of pick composition, so they can very easily open themselves up to just getting exploited on the opposite side of the map when you have such a strong pick like Varus coming out. We have seen Volibear and Xin Zhao both taken off the table. I would wonder if they would want to go towards something like the Olaf that we hit on, or if they have a more, niche pick coming out.
There you go.
Well, let's wait until something's locked in before we go for that. I definitely think Olaf probably the priority.
I think the Olaf will be, or we've also, I think quickly hovered it there, the Nocturne has also been a pick that Tian has gone for the past. And when you're trying to match these map plays that are going to come through, always an option, but that's going to be the Olaf. And now we'll get to see what's going to be locked in the bottom lane. I mean, I feel like Leona is going to be the big pick there for Meiko. It's been a really strong support, probably the best one that we've seen coming through in that bot side. And as well, you can start to link up with Scout and provide that extra CC for these engages.
Yeah, I think for them, they just would like more engage in their composition so far. Ezreal being the expected pick that we thought would come out. You always can opt into maybe something more obscure if you wanted to bring out something like a Tristana. But hey, we're not going to talk about that. The Ezreal locked in. Leona probably going to follow. Now we're going to be looking at FPX to what they want to get out of this counter pick support. They do have a lot of range and disengage if they did want to opt into something more defensive like a Braum and really dissuade some things like the Culling or the Ezreal poke. But it does feel like they would like a little bit more engaged themselves.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking maybe something like a Thresh could also fit reasonably well here. You got at least a bit of disengage, and maybe you can help follow up on some of the plays. But again, there's not a huge amount left, and maybe you are just going to opt in back towards the Braum and just go, hey, look, we're going to disengage, try and play a range, which we actually talked about is a bit of a different style for FPX. We haven't seen a huge amount of poke compositions from this squad.
Certainly like the Braum, though, when you're against this bottom lane of Viper and Meiko, they love to be aggressive. So having that defensive support, but also having it against these kind of brawly picks we're seeing from EDG. It feels like EDG are going to be the ones trying to set the pace with that Twisted Fate. It's almost always the way. How are you guys anticipating this early game panning out?
That's going to be really interesting, right? Because you see that both teams kind of want to play more towards the top side. FPX definitely going to have a strong bottom lane 2v2, but still you have a Braum in that matchup. Jace first, Lucian up in top side. Whichever matchup can get ahead first is really going to be able to take over the game. I do expect EDG to have some more strength early on, coming with the Lee Sin and the Twisted Fate.
It's Rift to kick this series off.
And it feels like it's back to form for for both these organizations, right? As you say, FPX, they were in spring finals. They just got pipped. Now coming through again, looking favorites to take this. But you look across at EDG as well. The guys who didn't make Worlds in 2019 and 2020. The first time since the organization's inception in 2014 that they didn't make that accolade. Now they find themselves going to Worlds. Now they find themselves up against FPX in our finals.
And straight off the bat, we've got to talk about what's happening on the map here, because Tian going leashless to start this one out. But I want to take a quick look at these runes, Lyric, because there are some interesting decisions going on.
Yeah, the biggest thing that surprises me is the fleet footwork coming out from Doinb. This was, you know, the old go-to for Silas when you used to go the Q-Max. And the W was nerfed recently, so you did lose a lot of, you know, self-heal and early laning phase. But in matchups like Twisted Fate, who don't opt into an early Oblivion Orb, who don't have a ton of punishment, we still have seen Silas go with the Conquer in this matchup. So a lot of respect coming out from Doinb.
The other interesting rune is going to be that Lucian in the top side as well. Going for the summon Airy. This has been the lethality Lucian that we've seen. I'm pretty sure it was first showcased in LCK, and we're getting a little bit over in the LPL. And especially when you've got this style, you can poke so effectively and rip through people with that Cully.
It's like so crazy to me too, because I remember the first time when we got it in LPL, it's like, okay, everyone who's done area broad goes lethality. But here, we were still seeing people go towards Gale Force builds and be willing to build for this all-in. Doesn't make a lot of sense in my opinion, because like you said, it's a lot more about just trying to utilize constant poke coming out from the Q and find the early lane advantage. Not surprising that Flandre does have pressure in this lane, especially Nuguri on the opposite side running the Conquer, a lot more of an extended skirmish rune.
Flandre is going to have to be a little bit careful, because Tian is pathing all the way up to that top side. If Flandre isn't too cautious, he can get caught out by Nuguri and Tian. We've seen that play 1,000 times before.
Yeah, really needs to make sure that he can actually crash this wave. It looks like he should be able to do so reasonably well, especially with Jiejie in the vicinity too. My real question though is, if you actually look at mid lane, you have decent push here for Doinb. So when we look at this Scuttle Crab, it's not really going to go the way I expected with like having both push mid and top. Instead, you're going to have a bit of contest here from the solo lane of Doinb.
I still feel like for the side of EDG, they should be the ones who'd be able to confirm that one, because it'd be much easier for Scout to move over as compared to Nuguri on the opposite side so far into his turret. Seems like FPX realized that as well, so they're just not even going to go for it. They're going to make their way down towards bottom lane, where they do have pressure with LWX and Crisp. And now this is where we're going to start seeing some answers to some questions, right? Tian, I would assume, probably is going to go for a recall after this and just start going towards the second clear, maybe try and make something happen towards mid before that. But do FPX opt into playing more for their bottom lane with that push, or is it all about the volatility of that top lane matchup like we thought?
I mean, great ward here from Scout though. Spots out. Tian may actually still get caught though.
Oh no, Scout, is he going to have to flash into 2v2 in the mid lane to start this series off? Doinb in, there's a stun coming down onto the jungler. He's locked up low HP and taken out for first blood. Scout starts this one off with a bang, and in they come from the bottom lane. Meiko locks him up, Doinb goes down.
And we were asking for EDG to adapt, and they did. Meiko making his way towards mid. Beautiful word from Scout, like you were hitting on, Dagda, to set up for that play to come out. And we didn't think EDG would be the team to come out with guns a-blazing.
And it's all thanks to that ward, right? They spot out exactly where Tian is. They get the pieces in place, and it's beautiful from EDG. Now, we got to see maybe Viper.
Yeah, Viper going aggressive at the bottom side, using that E aggressively. Crisp tries to make the play. The Ignite is there, but I don't think it'll quite finish this kill off. Damn good effort, though, from the FPX bot lane.
Hey, it was a good try, right? You know, the flash Ignite, getting a little bit antsy in that bottom lane. Not quite able to get anything, though. Viper, though, still sticking around. And look at Doinb. He's roaming down.
Yeah, they really need to be careful. Scout does have the teleport if they do want to react to this play, but it might be just too late if Viper is so low.
Viper still has his heal and flash. There is outplay potential here. Meiko body blocking for his AD carry. Doinb getting ahead back up to the mid lane. We have a small reprieve.
This is a great job, though, from LWX and Crisp. You're kind of wondering how they do in the 2v2. This is phenomenal so far, and especially if you're looking towards like the ability to go for early dragons, like both these teams have gone for throughout the split. It feels like with all the pressure we have for FPX bot, that should be a no-brainer for them.
And that's something about FPX as well, right, is that FPX early on in the split were playing a lot towards Nuguri up in that top side, but as the season kind of progressed, they went back towards that older play style of, okay, sure, it's still about Doinb, Tian, and Crisp, but it has been a lot about skirmishing towards that bottom side river. That's why their dragon control has also been so high as well. And it's nice to see FPX just continue to commit to this. This is going to be really rough for FPX now. Now that Doinb doesn't have flash, just playing melee into ranged, has to worry about things like gold card or flash gold card coming out from Scout to set up ganks from Jiejie.
Tian does not want a moment of quiet in this game. Now moving up towards this top side to try and set up for Nuguri. Like you were saying, they have for a lot of this split. Feels like this FPX roster very flexible on how they want to play the Rift, but Flandre playing this safe, just keeping his wave where it is, playing it as slow as possible so there isn't a window.
I feel like the big thing, right, is that when you look at this top side, both sides do want to interact with it, but you just don't have much setup coming out from either. Sure, Jiejie can try and outplay with, some kind of ward hop into kick combo. Tian can look for some kind of slow, but I feel like it's really about getting either your mid laners or supports involved.
Yeah, and I mean, if you don't interact with this realistically, Flandre is happy as Larry. I mean, look at the CS lead already.
Jiejie blast cones in. Here we go, Scout using his destiny as well to try and get under this tower. There's the gold card thrown to Nuguri, but he flashes under the tower, culling across. Tian in trouble here, low HP, still going for now, but he falls. Now the tower not being tanked up by Jiejie. He gets the double. Nobody goes down. That was flawless.
Can we check if we have the nameplates on the right way around? I feel like this is watching what FPX do at this stage, where they're all over the place. They get the early kill in mid, or kill in mid, they moving up towards the top. So you now got 3 kills for Jiejie on the Lee Sin.
It's just crazy, right? Oh, it's not going to stop.
More aggression in the bottom side. This time it's EDG pushing forwards. Ignite goes down onto Chris, but even with Scout's TP, they can't find a kill.
I still think it was a really nice try coming out, though, right? Because going back to base, you now have a buy, you see a window to look at this play. We're going to jump straight into the replay. I mean, they still have the ability to move with the Twisted Fate from the earlier play from Doinb. They just lock him down with the gold card. I think really nice job of not taking aggro too early. They utilize the range from the culling, and then Flandre, I mean, just on a knife's edge with that one, still able to pick up both kills. But still, for EDG, it looks like this is going to stop anytime soon.
I think you're okay. I think you're okay to keep talking. FPX, though, they wanted to go for this Draken.
Yeah, I mean, FPX are like an alligator with no toothbrush. They're hungry right now. They want to make sure they can try and make some plays. And if you're looking at Dragon, that seems to be the best bet, right? Because top side has gone completely skew-ways now. And I love how they managed to juggle that aggro so effectively. Because Flandre, you could see so now, though, you're kind of looking like FPX, what do we try and do here? Because the only answer I can see is going to be that Dragon.
I think the big thing for FPX is, even if this is a bit, I want to say slower, but EDG have done a nice job of accelerating the pace. But if they can hold on, go into mid and late game, right? They still have a ton of poke coming out. They still have a ton of disengage from the Braum and zone control. Doinb will outscale both side laners later on in terms of the 1v1, so there will be tools there.
And I want to just take a second and kind of recap, because we're 8 minutes in, there's already 4 kills. It's been pretty chaotic so far. It is EDG, though, with a 2,500 gold lead, and crucially, 3 kills on Jiejie. He was one of the players that I think a lot of people were expecting to be on the disadvantaged side. Chris maybe getting aggressive on here. He's going to be all right. Clears the ward away. We'll walk away with this one. But Jiejie having an amazing job in this early jungle.
That's the crazy thing, right? Because people are going to remember he got subbed out earlier in playoffs from having a bad series. Their first series up against WE wasn't looking too good. They brought in only played 1 game in the regular season, so you could tell things it wasn't all just, nice in paradise. Was a bit of rockiness there, but Jiejie showing up nicely.
Yeah, and I want to see now if Jiejie, as he starts up this Rift Child, right, what the answer is from FPX. Because you've got Doinb, he's got that Destiny, you've got this push on bot side, and Meiko's trying to run back down, but might be caught.
Another Destiny coming out this time from Doinb, but Meiko's all right. Flashes out to safety. And again, FPX in control of the bottom side, it feels like, but EDG on the opposite.
And I feel like that's where you want to make your play, right? You want to start trying to answer for the turret plates that this Rift Herald should inevitably take, while also getting this Dragon, but we'll have to see if they're going to be able to.
So it's hard to say because we obviously didn't have the Observer panned over bot lane, but I also wonder if Doinb there, it would have just been better to Destiny bot when both your AD and support are there, and we see Viper just kind of helpless under turret. Maybe wave not set up still. They were able to get Meiko's flash out of it. I think FPX are making the right choice, so of cross-mapping.
I will say it's Viper. He's never quite helpless, but now under turret for sure. There are 4 members of FPX, and it's their turn to die, but in comes Scout as well, and it's going to be Meiko to go down first. And the top side of the tower has fallen. FPX, I mean, it's a 1-for-1. I'm not sure that's worth it.
No, and they're not even going to get these plates, right? You're about to lose 2 towers, 250 gold on that tower. That is just going to go into the hands of Flandre, and he's huge right now. Like, look at the CS lead. He's now gotten 5 turret plates plus this extra tower. That Lucian is going to be a menace come this mid-game.
And it's sadly for the side of FPX, right? Nuguri not able to go and hold, would probably just get dove and end up dying in that situation. Going back to the Flandre lead, though, the fact that he will be so big in the side lane, what we were talking about earlier, with
It's
Doinb,
okay, it's okay.
what we were happening earlier with Doinb of, outscaling in the 1v1 matchups won't be as big of a deal just because of how far accelerated Flandre is with that 2k gold lead.
And this guy's the weak side king. Imagine when he doesn't have a lane opponent. Like, he can just take over. He's already taken 2 towers.
And exactly, as we said before, like, this guy loves Lucian before. He was renowned for his Lucian in the past, so we're going to get to see that again. Looking at the dive, though, here, you get on towards Meiko, but look, watch Chris, right? Always out of range of Scout. He's the one tanking up, making sure that everyone who's under the turret can't get locked up, take that turret aggro, and FPX do manage to escape. Nice play, but as he said, EDG are the victors.
I feel like if FPX had a wave, they could have looked for a redive and tried to get more, but with the lack of wave, not really able to try and just, go back to juggling aggro and look back in for that play. Now we're going to be looking at what EDG want to do. Feels like you're waiting for that Destiny to come up. You've already pushed in the wave top side, so you can have multiple members mid, and I like what EDG are doing, right? You push in top, you're moving your top laner down, you have 2 members hovering around mid, so the rest of your team can walk into the bottom side jungle. There were no camps available, maybe no wards available either, but still, they're constantly looking to use the push that they have to make aggressive plays.
I feel like we need to zoom out for a second to remember, like, where we started in this series and what the expectation was coming in. Because for any viewers that don't regularly watch LPL, everyone was coming in saying FPX are a heavy favorite in this series. FPX are the fast, aggressive team. Today, EDG have come in and they have blown expectations apart in the first 10 minutes.
But we were always looking at these two teams as the most dominant from the regular split. Like, if you look at the stats, right? Go different to 15. FPX is second. It's EDG who's first. When you look at kills at 15, it's FPX who are first. KDA 15, EDG are second. Like, all these guys, all the stats, and even when you look at Dragons, right? It's going to be first for EDG, second for FPX. These guys love these early aggressive plays, and we're now just get to see EDG take that and turn it up to 11.
Yeah, and I feel like, zooming back into the game when we're looking at FPX and how they can try and bring it back, because they are about 3k gold down, still not the end of the world, but it is quite rough for them. I feel like what you're going to be doing is conceding sides and continuously looking to group mid, just making sure people like LWX can farm, making sure Tian, maybe Nuguri and Doinb picking up some of those camps in the jungle.
Chris could be in trouble here. Jiejie kicks it back into the rest of the squad, and Viper will not be gifted the kill. Gets taken by the cripple coming out. And now on to LWX as well, and it feels like FPX just cannot catch up right.
They can't, but Jiejie is taking over. He heard the criticism, comes in. He's the one finding all these proactive plays, and EDG don't look like they want to stop here.
And Tian, it feels like he's just about got away with his Gromp, but maybe not even that. TP coming on through, though. Scout arrives on the scene as well. 2v4 underneath the tower here for FPX as they go on towards Flandre, trying to start the fight, but they can't close the gap. Flandre now slowed. Culling doesn't do much to the Viking. Axe is coming on through, blocked by his teammates, but the shot flash from Nuguri finishes one. Now it's EDG turning the fight back onto his head. Doinb has to flash out to safety. The gold card comes through onto the top laner though, and Nuguri locked up, forced to flash himself. Now EDG re-engaged upon FPX, starting the fight once more. Ignite on Jiejie. He will fall. The stun comes down onto the support, and FPX finally find a positive play.
It's so good that FPX managed to come out on top of that because they invested so many resources to try and defend that bot lane turret, defend Tian, and they managed to get some of these crucial kills back in their favor. Now they should be able to try and put some pressure onto this bot lane and get it back, but we'll just have to take a look at this replay here in the mid lane.
Yeah, and we're going to see that Jiejie's going to be able to start it off, hits the Sonic Wave, blind, able to go in, is going to be able to get the Ward Hop into the Insect to make sure they find that initial kill, and then Jiejie just doesn't stop. Mechanics so on point. I love the aggression coming out from Viper. Flashes in, helps to guarantee that kill and pick up some more gold. Then we're going to see here EDG wanting to use the fact that they had that pressure from mid to look for this play in bot. Let's remember that in these early skirmishes, Flandre is pretty much all of their burst. Scout is a CC bot. Even Viper not able to do too much in short burst just yet. He's going to go down from just playing pretty much 1v3 under turret to that point. They are able to return one kill back, even forcing out the flash from Doinb. But after the gold card comes out, we see what I just mentioned. Not enough burst to really take down another member. So for FPX, they're going to be able to turn around because they have both Doinb and Nuguri there.
All right, we're going to return to live here because the Drake is kicking off. As we can see, FPX managed to get that play, but EDG are still in control. FPX grouped up in the mid lane here, and Viper trying to punish them for that.
I'm really curious to see what EDG are going to do here, though, because we just invested both teleports from FPX into that bottom lane. You have 2 TPs available, still a Destiny available for Scout. I feel like you can end up putting Flandre into one of these lanes, have Scout hover, start to look for these picks, look to take more of these turrets, especially if you're playing off this bottom side. Look for the tier 2s, get more gold into your pocket.
This is where EDG's composition just thrives, right? You get to make the map big to where FPX want to keep the map small, keep you in front of them, but with the double TPs, with both winning side laners at this point, they can just keep going for the heavy pick comp that we talked about. Keep playing around Flandre's lane is what I'd like to see. Get him to push in, start invading the enemy jungle and finding those picks.
And especially if you're going to invest everything from FPX and try to stop that side lane push, hey, there's a Rift Herald there. Let's just wander over and take that for ourselves. Then we can get a tier 2 off that. There's so much pressure on the map right now for EDG.
And like when you think about the Rift Herald for EDG as well, they already got more value out of the first Rift Herald than most teams get out of both, right? They've already taken 2 towers. If they can get a second Rift Herald, they're going to break this game open. And I have to say, I'm so impressed by EDG so far, but also this composition is just so perfect for Viper, right? While the rest of your team is diving in and causing a ruckus, Viper is going to be free to do whatever he wants.
I still think it's just so crazy just going back to compositions. Looking at EDG being the team that went for the Twisted Fate,
right.
has the Lucian at topside. This looks like more of an FPX style composition. So nice to see EDG coming in with some really good prep, hitting back on FPX. So it's been really nice to see them, again, cross-mapping, trying to find avenues back into the game.
And like I said before, it has been 1,219 days since the last time EDG made playoffs. That was back in 2018 spring. They've made it all the way to the final against a team they've never beaten in playoffs before, and they have come in prepared.
EDG are playing that gatekeeper though, because there are only 2 teams in the LPL that have multiple titles. RNG and EDG. They are trying to deny FPX entry to that club, and right now, they're doing a pretty phenomenal job.
Yeah, and I feel like for FPX, right? I mean, in spring, it was looking like that was supposed to be their second title. They beat RNG the first time they played them, sadly losing in the rematch in the grand final. Gonna try and get it here today, but EDG playing so well, they were able to just take the Rift Herald. Again, they have pressure in both side lanes. They're doing fine in mid lane. Doesn't matter that VODS does have the wave clear. They're gonna be able to collapse as a 5-man unit and look to get some gold.
Chain of Corruption comes down onto Meiko here. Solar Flare flashed away from. There's a play on the top side of the fight as well, though. Nuguri already down. The Herald gets its charge in. That's the Solar Flare onto the team. The Cullen coming through, but blocked by the Unbreakable. But EDG pressuring from all angles here. And FPX just having to run away from the fray.
And it's just so great to see, right? They hone in on just, hey, we're going to pick up the Straggler and Nuguri up towards that top side. And for FPX, engaging on the 3-man is so hard. You have Ezreal and Lucian. There's so much mobility between them. And you already hit on it for FPX. There isn't a ton of engage coming out, right? You do have the Chains of Corruption. Sure, Doinb can look for an abscond of Duct, but nothing reliable.
Also, Jiejie just hits like a truck.
Yeah.
Like, at this stage,
monster.
you got Gore Drinker, you're working towards Black Cleaver. That Lee Sid definitely hurts. We're actually going to see it here. Like, Jiejie just spots the Nuguri's a little bit separate. They go in, and they're able to just burst them out. Like, you can see just that one rotation just out of the picture here for Nuguri.
We were talking about how Flandre has to be the first. Well, when your Lee Sin is this strong, Lee Sin can be the damage. He can be the first for the side of EDG. 8-4 on the scoreboard, still a 3,000 gold lead. They are very much in control. The next strike up in a minute and a half.
Yeah, and I feel like a massive thing is Scout also now having his rapid fire cannon. When you're playing up against a composition that does have such a big range advantage on you, right? That's going to be such a big power spike if you can get in range to lock down someone like LWX or Nuguri and take them out of the fight right away.
And the big thing here for FPX is that they want to at least try and find some way to, like, hey, maybe we can get you into a pit, we can start to use that poke, try and deny your ability to play at this wide map state, but your Dragons aren't in favor of FPX. It's not like you're going to be able to, like, push them back and start looking for a Baron. When you're losing out on all these tiers, your first tier 1s, also losing out on some of these tier 2s, it becomes really difficult and to try and fight against the oppressive nature of this composition.
I feel like the big thing for the side of FPX as well is the fact that their composition has a lot of like burst damage, right? Jace, Varus, and Silas. If you can like catch out someone like Scout Viper or Flandre, any of the squishy members, you should be able to burst them out instantly. The problem, as we're seeing right now, is that FPX just can't guarantee lane prio anywhere. They can't safely push out on side lanes. They'll have to be afraid of Scout picking them off with a Destiny, or Jiejie just being there and 1v1ing them from how massive he is. And your only real hope is, okay, we're going to push in mid, but then what can we do with that? Luckily for them, Dragon will be up in 26 seconds, so you can try and contest 5-man, try and get some of this poke down from LWX and Nuguri.
There is a deep ward behind EDG here. You can see one FPX ward behind the situation. Doinb and Nuguri both have teleport available. Good shock blast there onto Flandre before the fight kicks off, but it's answered by Viper with a true shot barrage of his own. Getting some good damage down. Jiejie just goes in. So does Tian, though. Straight on towards the back line here, trying to shut down Viper, and they will. bringing down the true damage with his answer twice over. An arrow from LWX to make sure people know he's the AD carry to talk about. 3v3 here to the skies in. EDG falling apart here, and FPX at a disadvantage, somehow going even with EDG.
How do they keep doing this? There's been so many games this playoffs where FPX fall behind and then they just find these fights, these moments where they can pick someone off and bring this game back. Right now it's Viper gets picked off, and now FPX, they can get some of the standing gold on the map.
Yeah, I feel like FPX are so happy with where that fight took place, right? You see numerous members trying to funnel into a choke. You're able to get that poke off, but I want to start off by saying I just love how aggressive Jiejie is playing today. They get some poke off. He sees the opportunity, is able to get the play, but actually no, it was Olaf flashing over. Actually, FPX wanted to look for the fight themselves. But we can see the poke is just safe in the backside, right? You see both Nuguri and LWX able to keep getting this going. You weren't able to get, you know, catch one member out, have the numbers advantage fight from EDG like they'd hope. And when that doesn't happen, you're relying a lot on Viper and Flandre to get off a lot of this damage from a distance.
It really felt like Jiejie was trying to bait out the Ragnarok, right? He's like, no, I'm going to pretend to kick you over the wall. And Tian's like, no, I'm going. I'm just in there.
Tian's like, you call that aggression? This is aggression. Goes straight in. Viper gets the Drake, though. That's 2 Drakes now for EDG. And you saw the True Shot Barrage blasted at that Baron. EDG were very cautious not to overcommit to this Drake and lose out on an objective trade.
Yeah, I think FPX are still fine doing it, right? EDG only up on 2 Drakes right now. They don't really have to be afraid of too much. They're fine still just getting items on their carries. We can see now Doinb having these on his Hourglass going to be super useful in these fights where, again, because EDG don't have that burst, it is going to be extended skirmishes. You go in with the Zhonya's Hourglass, pop that active, then you get another rotation of cooldowns coming up. And even EDG's composition, right? Not really a ton of magic damage. You have a Twisted Fate in your mid lane. He's all about the utility, so feels like you're going to get a lot of value coming out from that Zhonya's this game.
Yeah, and even like the other items across in EDG as well, kind of prepping for the burst that FPX are going to be throwing. I thought it was going to be the Black Cleaver coming through on Jiejie. Like, traditionally when you're ahead on Lee Sin, getting that ton of extra damage off the Black Cleaver is super nice, but he's just gone straight for the Sterix, that burst avoidance from FPX's side.
FPX getting complete vision control here. And you guys were talking about earlier, later on into the game, this FPX composition is certainly going to start to look good. Well, this 3,000 gold lead has been consistent for the last 10 minutes. EDG have not been able to extend their lead at all.
Yeah, I feel like the thing is for EDG, we've been hitting on them like pushing in through sides, getting deep vision in the enemy jungle and trying to catch out stragglers. They haven't really looked for that too much, right? We have seen a default back to what we'd expect of EDG, of much more of waiting out for the neutrals to come up, trying to set up around those picks. And I feel like FPX have done a pretty decent job as well of not giving windows. They're still looking for a play of their own.
That was close. There were many ultimates thrown by FPX. They all go wide in the end. Viper survives another situation.
My biggest question, though, for EDG is, like, as we start to get towards the next dragon, like, do you end up just playing through topside going, okay, cool, well, we have 2 dragons already. Let's just try and put a ton of pressure up towards maybe that inhibitor tower topside and just look to trade opposite sides of the map? Because it feels like with FPX having control of mid and having so much burst damage available, I don't really want to contest them right now in any of these objectives.
Yeah, I feel like for EDG, what they need to do is what they're currently doing on the map with Scout, right? Get him pushing in the top side, try and pull someone from FPX apart, try and pick them off, and then, again, whether it's something like Baron, if it's up on the map and Dragon's down, or Dragon, just try and turn it into that objective. FPX have been consciously dropping waves on sides, though, so it's not like, you know, they can't just force FPX to get farm if they don't want farm.
If there's a team that's going to be happy to drop farm to make a play somewhere, it's probably FPX. Let's be real here. Doinb, you know, known for that way back in 2019, but it's important to mention that this is not the same FPX as 2019. Obviously, a change in the top lane, but also a change in style, and especially Doinb in the mid lane. They were talking about it on the desk earlier. This player has consistently improved year on year on year.
Yeah, and I mean, look, you can kind of see it when you look at, like, his KDA for all mid laners is second in the league from the regular split. His CSD at 15, third. His gold damage, or his gold difference area at 15 is second in the league. And he even has 11 solo kills from the regular split. Like, this guy's just been popping the hell off, and it's now going to have to be up to a lot of that plays coming through from FPX, and specifically from Doinb, to try and bring FPX continuously back into this game.
Yeah, we haven't seen him doing a nice job in skirmishes. I do want to highlight some other members, though, like LWX. Oh, maybe we
might
look for
not
Tian,
have
though.
time. Tian charging into the fray. Scout forced to flash right off the bat here. Meiko kind of separated from the rest of his squad. Taken out before the fray even begins. Jiejie now being chased. Going to be Doinb stealing away that Dragon's Rage, but he can't quite go for anything more as EDG are forced to back away. Flandre and Viper want to contest, they want to threaten, but they don't have a way into this death ball from FPX.
Yeah, FPX, I think death ball is the perfect word with how they're playing, right? We just keep seeing them group up as 5, walking into River to find that initial pick, but EDG now losing a bit of pressure in terms of Flandre having to blow that teleport. I do like that EDG were aware of, hey, we do still have the Ezreal and Lucian up. We can look to try and get some damage on them on the retreat. That's why FPX didn't try and turn that into any crazy objective like a Baron play.
Yeah, and you're going to see it here, right? They just gunned them down. With Tian here, they spot a couple of folks out, and they're good to go. And even this, the nuts thing is, like, this Olaf doesn't have an upgraded boots either. He's just like, I'm going to land every axe, chase you down, get those plays. And I mean, the separation from EDG just perfect. And here we go again.
Jiejie going to be rooted. Dragon Rage available for Doinb, but he gets his own to the face. Gets booted back. And EDG will be all right for the time being. Drake coming up in 35 seconds, and it would be soul point for EDG if they're able to get it.
Yeah, EDG now going to try and turn on objective first. The problem is that FPX will always have control of mid-wave with these compositions. I think the thing that is fine for EDG is when you have a Twisted Fate with Destiny, it's not too horrible to try and have to like walk or retake your face check into River because you're going to have vision of everything.
And we're saying, hey, look, maybe EDG can try and play too top. Maybe they can try and set up some sort of cross map. Well, the Wave's not in a position where they can make any of these plays. So EDG, if they're going to tango, it's going to be in front of this Dragon as it just spawns.
Yeah, and we're going to be seeing if Scout can find a way on the backline and combo up with Jiejie.
Bit of a route onto Chris, but he is that Braum, so he's going to be relatively safe there. Doinb stealing the Solar Flare away. Viper, no heal available. Does have his flash, but we've got to keep our eyes on that All-Star AD carry. Destiny Port being used there just to regroup with the team from Scout. Dragon down to about half HP. It's just going to be burst down here. Who gets the surprise? It will be FPX to take the Dragon here, now forced to retreat on this one. His health is already low. Gold Solar Flare, Viper gets the kill on Tian, and EDG back in control. A great kick from Jiejie. Knocks LPX into the waiting arms of EDG. They take themselves the Drake. They take themselves a fight.
Yeah, EDG, they played it so they're able to come out ahead. Looks like they're going to find themselves an ace.
He's trying to hide.
Nobody's home. Nobody's home.
Now I'm curious to see what EDG do, right? The Baron is up, but it's completely on the opposite side of the map. We already see Jiejie making his way there. Scout doesn't teleport, so it looks like EDG can play for a bit of everything.
Gorgeous, gorgeous play from EDG. The fact that they're able to take against a composition like this, like you want to be looking for picks, but instead they just go straight for the fight, and they do such a good job. Especially Jiejie there managing to avoid the Solar Flare, backs up, that culling hitting onto so many crucial members, and you just get the follow-up coming across from Viper, snipes out Tian, you've already got low health bars on Chris, and it's just pick and choose here as you get to go back and forth using the... Oh, hang on, Baron. Oh,
wait, Baron's taken. It's already gone.
Okay, Baron's gone, but I mean, EDG, they're kind of just getting everything right now.
You know, I don't feel like we should actually be that surprised when EDG got there and coming up.
True.
I thought it was a fight. I'm like conditioned to see that.
I just saw the little box pop up. I was like, oh my god.
But for EDG, I really feel like giving credit to Flandre for that culling is so massive, right? Because he got Tian so low to set up for that snipe coming out from Viper, which gave EDG the numbers advantage they needed.
Well, earlier on, I criticized EDG because I said, well, they're still only 3,000 gold ahead. They haven't been able to extend their goal lead. Well, now they're 9,000 gold ahead. It's about 5 more minutes since I said that last statement, and I very much take it back. And this is an EDG that are here to change the public perception, because everyone coming in was saying FPX were a heavy favorite. Many of us predicting a 3-0 from FPX, and EDG are blasting them apart here in game number 1. Double the kills, and now looking to take tier 2s across the map with this Baron.
And when already you had like these side lanes you could try and play through, add Baron to that mix, it becomes obnoxious. Now the tier 2s are going. You've got that push in the top lane for a Scout as well. He can move across whenever he wants, but just going to be able to chip away at the structure in the top lane, as it only looks like LWX up there to defend at the moment.
Yeah, and I feel like a big thing as well is, even though for the side of FPX you do have a lot of range and poke, you don't have a lot of great wave clears. We see Doinb getting quite low. He's going to be able to back off, but man, EDG are just playing this so well, playing out through a 2-lane setup, making FPX having to react on 2 fronts, and they are going to be able to get probably both inhibitors with how they're playing.
Yeah, between rapid fire cannons, those cannon minions having that Baron
buff. Comes down. Tian solo flashes out to safety. Jiejie gets the Sonic Wave. Has he missed a single Q all game? Blind Monk, my ass. They're going to go into the face here. 2 inhibs down. EDG are looking to make a statement in game number 1 of this series. It's LPX forced back onto Fat. Actually, Jiejie's gone too deep on this one. Is it possible that FPX maybe can hold on to the game off the back of it? Still Baron minions in the base. The cannons are just doing so much work. The Nexus is bare. It does not matter that the Monk went down. The Nexus is open, but EDG kick back. FPX fighting for their lives in game number 1. 3 members down. Can they finish the game? It's FPX falling apart, and it's Viper that takes over.
And it's just so great to see EDG coming out with a statement game. Like we were saying all along, pretty much everyone thought that this was FPX's series to take 3-0, but EDG are coming with some fight in them.
But they did it with FPX's champions.
Right.
I came into this game, I was like, oh yeah, well, it's Doinb's Twisted Fate. It's the Tian Lee Sin. It's the Doinb Lee Sin. And look, whatever about that. This was a confident performance from EDG, and I mean, draft notes be damned, this is stylish from this squad.
I honestly just want to give EDG a round of applause on that game, because that was not only beautiful, but like you say, taking FPX's playbook and hitting them around the face with it. Like, that is such an exciting way to start a best-of-5 final as arguably the underdog and come in swinging.
I just remember that, Dagda, we were talking about this, of how doomed draft looked for the side of EDG coming to the series. We're like, man, FPX have all these champions. As EDG, you can't ban them all out. You don't play them. And it's just wrong. Again, I feel like the big thing for me is just Flandre going back to more of these carry-style champions like earlier in his career, which on EDG, he has not gotten to play. I want to remind everyone, his most played champion in the regular split was Set. Set was not meta this split at all. But for EDG, it's all about leaving Flandre alone. It's nice to see them having, you know, more tools in their arsenal.
But it has been this gradual change, right? Especially when we saw it in playoffs. Like, we look at the series against WE, 3 games of Jace, and we saw Jiejie like sitting in bushes trying to make sure that he had all the resources he needed. Even when you got the counter pick for Breathe with the Lucian, you see Jiejie like pink towards the top brush, sits there and is just like, look, bro, don't got you. I got you. We're going to get you through this. And now we're seeing a very similar style, right? Where they're willing to pick these more carry-oriented top laners, as you were saying, and actually give Flandre those resources.
And I think the crazy thing about that, the whole situation in the top side of the map there, is that clearly Tian knew this was coming, right? Tian was sitting in that brush alongside his top laner. They're like, they're going to try and make a dive. We're going to counterplay. They still just got destroyed. It was like this immaculate 3v2 dive from EDG. And it's like, it's clear that this is not just a sudden change of playstyle, right? This is something EDG have been practicing hard to pull off.
Yeah, EDG, again, definitely putting a lot of time and effort into this one. Hovering just back to FPX real quick. The one thing I do like for FPX, right, is that it was a never say die attitude. We even saw up until the Nexus, they were doing everything they can to try and take the game. I do feel like we saw some decent performances coming out from members you wouldn't expect, like LWX, solid showing. I think Chris was probably the highlight for me most of this game, but for the side of FPX, not able to find the first game.
Well, it was an amazing first game. We have started off as we mean to go on, and EDG have started off by upsetting the expectation. I cannot wait to see what happens for the rest of this one. We're going to jump into a